what this heart work teaches us is that it's actually not us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not I have the power. It's that there's a power moving through me.
Yes, yes.
So it's not this comparative. It's everybody can step into this field.
Right, right.
I'm not special, but it's like we're all special at the same time.
Right.
So it's this whole incredible, the 5 heart stages are all also different realities.
Mm-hmm.
As you awaken your heart brain, you change your perceptions, which changes your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and then your life.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and riches blessings, everyone, and welcome to Take Back Your Mind, in which we're here absolutely welcoming people to take back their mind and to open their heart in such a way that the destiny that's loaded and coded within you gets set free. Because each being is carrying the vibration and the frequency of the Most High according to their uniqueness. And we have to free our minds from being hijacked by worry, doubt, fear, scarcity, separation, not enoughness that leads to all manner of isms. And we want to open our hearts so that the love of pure spirit takes over. And we live in a very powerful and magnificent way without blowing our incarnation. We don't want to waste the incarnation. Anyway, listen, I have with me an individual that's activated by the spirit of the living one, straight from God, straight from Paramahansa Yogananda, Sri Teshwarji. She's Kimberly Snyder, 3-time New York Times bestselling author, holistic wellness expert and nutritionist, international speaker, and of course, meditation teacher. She has authored 6 previous books, including Radical Beauty, which she co-authored with our friend Deepak Chopra. And You Are More Than You Think You Are, Practical Enlightenment for Everyday Life. And you know what? She has a new book out. It's right here. The Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts, which we will be discussing, having conversation about today. She is the founder of Solluna, a holistic lifestyle brand. Did I say that right?
Yep, Sun and Moon.
Okay. Lifestyle brand that offers supplements, meditation courses, and the HeartAlign System and Meditation. And she hosts a top-rated feel-good podcast, which covers all aspects of holistic wellness. We've done this before. She has worked with dozens of top celebrities to feel their best, including Drew Barrymore, who's one of the individuals who has endorsed this book, Reese Witherspoon, Channing Tatum, and regularly featured on numerous national media outlets, including Good Morning America, The Today Show, The New York Times, Vogue, Wall Street Journal. She resides in Los Angeles and Hawaii with her husband and her children. Kimberly, welcome to Take Back Your Mind, Open Your Heart.
So great to be with you, Reverend. Thank you so much.
It's my joy to be with you again.
Yes.
The frequency, the vibration is just wonderful and magical.
Brought back together.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Here we go. Listen, before we talk about this, give the individual a little background of yourself as to some of the things that occurred in your life that brought you to this moment.
So the journey, right? We're all on this journey of unfolding and deepening and deepening. And when I started Reverend, I just wanted to feel better. I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of self-doubt, like many of us. I was uncomfortable in my body. I just wanted to feel better.
Right.
And I didn't know the path. I just was trying to go down some action steps. I just started traveling around the world. I was seeing things. My first pathway into wellness was food. I had a disordered relationship with food. I had eating disorders that was on par with the sort of just the abuse that I was imposing on my own body.
Right.
So it started healing with the food, and then I became so passionate about sharing with others how much better you could feel when you started to take care of your body. And for years, that was it. And so I went back to nutrition school, and then it was just like this onion that kept peeling layers. And then I was like, well, I got the food down pretty well, but what about all this anxiety and stress in my mind? So then I started going down different pathways. I started studying yoga and meditation and Ayurveda, and my books, this is my 8th book. They sort of paralleled my relationship, where the Deepak book took me more into Ayurveda and spirituality. And when I was researching my last book called You Are More Than You Think You Are a few years ago, I came across some incredible research around the heart and about how the heart's another brain. And then I started going down this whole pathway around the spiritual teachings around the heart. So it wasn't that I was planning any of this, Reverend. I really felt led, like little breadcrumbs. It kept going deeper and deeper and deeper to where we are today.
So basically, these books are kind of like a record of your own growth and unfoldment, your own revelations that you've embodied.
I'll tell you something, Reverend. The other books were a reflection of, I've been living this, and this feels so good, and I can't wait to share the central mantra. This book was completely different than the other books, because writing this book completely changed my life. It awakened my heart to a whole new level. So it was in this, I'm getting goosebumps, just this living embodiment. The book is about these 5 stages of breaking your heart open into this potential, spiritually, scientifically, energetically. So this book changed me.
Yes.
So it was like, it was all coming through in present time, versus the other ones were, a little bit like, oh, here, this has worked. This was like real time.
So when you talk about, so what are the 5 hearts?
Okay, so at the same time I mentioned, I came across this piece of research, which took me down this whole pathway about the heart brain and heart coherence and HRV. At the same time, as I mentioned to you, I came across this book. Well, I knew about the book, The Holy Science by Swami Sri Yukteswar, but I felt called to go even deeper. He was Yogananda's guru who brought yoga to the West, essentially. And there's this part of the book, Reverend, where he talks about the 5 heart stages that all humans go through to awaken into their full potential. And so this was really interesting, because even though I have been meditating for 15 years, I've gone down this wellness journey, I never focused on the heart as much. For me, my meditations, it was third eye, it was, just all these other teachings. But suddenly I started feeling this energy awakening in my heart. And so at the same time, the science was lining up with the 5 heart stages. So the first heart is the dark heart, not dark as in evil, but dark as in we can't see, the lights are off. Scientifically, the heart and the brain aren't communicating well. This is where we have that fear, that lack of purpose, lack of energy, that confusion that's so prevalent in the world today.
Yes.
And then the second stage is the propelled heart. And the propelled heart is where there's more energy, there's a bit more coherence, but it's restless, Reverend. It's like always on, always seeking, always trying to look better, find the new diet. It's where I lived a lot of my life.
Right. A lot of people are living there right now.
A lot of societies in that propelled heart where there's no peace, there's no contentment, always on, burnout, stress, anxiety, external validation. How do I look on my social media? Rigid plans. I'm supposed to be married and have 3 kids by 35. I'm supposed to make this much money, right? It's the very mind. So again, a lot of stress. The third stage is called the steady heart. And this is a big turning point in coherence scientifically. And spiritually, we start to find this inner anchor that grounds us, and it makes us less resilient to stress. And at the same time, we start to wake up to how many attachments we have. And this was my heart journey, Reverend. I started to realize I was so attached to wanting this to be just so, and people liking me, people to understand me, you gotta see me.
Right.
And then we start to realize this self-reliance that Swami Sri Yukteswar is really talking about. Stage 4 is the devoted heart. So when you look at the HRV patterns, not just the numbers, but the actual patterns, you start to see a high level of heart coherence, which means the heart and brain are starting to sync up, and your nervous system. So now instead of all the cortisol and the sympathetic system overdrive, you're starting to balance things, and you become not just steady in the heart, but more devoted to these inner heart qualities. So love, peace, compassion, care. But the ironic, and your intuition goes bananas. But the ironic thing is, because there's so much heart coherence, and we can talk about the Heartfield in a moment, things tend to come into your life more. You tend to actually create what you want with more easefulness.
Right.
And then stage 5 is the clear heart, and this is known as the heart-brain harmony. And this is where you step into that field where there's natural synchronicities, natural things are just flowing in your life.
You're in the flow.
you're in flow, you're in connection.
Right.
You could never forget about harming another, but also judge, compare, feel
Right.
separation. You just feel the oneness
Right.
that the yogis and the great ones have talked about.
Right. Right.
And so what's amazing about these heart stages, Reverend, too, is in the West, we make things so mind, like from this perspective of the ego and the mind, right? So like these Western hero stories, these movies. It's like, my dad used to love the Bruce Willis, like the
Die
Hard.
Die Hard, yeah.
And it's like, okay, I have the power, right? I'm going to save the girl. I'm going to save the building. I'm going to save the world. It's like me. And what this heart work teaches us is that it's actually not us. It's not, I have the power. It's that there's a power moving through me.
Yes.
So it's not this comparative. It's everybody can step into this field.
Right.
I'm not special, but it's like we're all special at the same time.
Right.
So it's this whole incredible, the 5 heart stages are all also different realities. As you awaken your heart brain, you change your perceptions, which changes your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and then your life.
You've given a wonderful summary of the 5 hearts. It's beautiful. And so what motivated you? I mean, you've been in, as you said, nutrition and food. So what pulled you into this?
And one thing I want to say, Reverend, to be clear, there's like this flow between the stages, right? So
Yes,
if you think of our life, it's not like, I just get to this one stage and I
it's
stay
not
there.
linear.
And in a day,
Yeah.
you could experience a dark heart moment. Or I've been doing this work for an hour. I was like, I feel a lot of devoted heart. But then that fear can hit sometimes.
Right.
So what's amazing about this work is that you keep dropping the layers of who you're not.
Absolutely.
And also what I've noticed, Reverend, is you don't go in as often into those
Other
lower
spaces, yeah.
and you don't stay as often. But
Right.
it doesn't mean like, I'm not saying you're perfect and it's completely uphill. The heart journey is nonlinear, like you said. It's dynamic.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the 4 stages that I have of spiritual
Yes.
growth and unfoldment.
It's
From victim to using the mind. That's stage 2. I'm going to make something happen.
yes.
Into stage 3, the Spirit of God of life is operating through you. And then stage 4, it's operating as you.
Yes.
But it's not dynamic because you can be in one stage, you can feel like a victim. Other stage, you can feel like you're in flow.
Right.
But the idea is as you keep evolving, as you're describing, you go less and less into the lower
Exactly.
frequencies. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a ratio.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Reverend, I think one thing about me is that I've always been really open and, just allowing, I've never said, what am I going to write about next in a book? I've just been in a state of receptivity and curiosity and openness about how can I feel better and how can I share?
Right.
So as I mentioned, first it was like this outer layer of the physical, like this outer kosha. And then at Solluna, my brand, our philosophy is 4 pillars: food, body, emotional well-being, and spiritual growth. So I knew all, the spirituality was meditating, but there was still, to be honest, a bit of fragmentation. Like, okay, here's the food, and then I'm meditating, but in the middle of my day, and when I'm not meditating, I can still have those stressful thoughts. There's still, this up and down feeling. So, I mean, I can't remember exactly when I started being called to the heart, but all I know was like a giant snowball. I came across that research study, and then I was reading the Holy Science over and over again. And going down the pathway, we ended up doing a research study for this book with the Heart Math Institute, which in this 7-minute practice, less than 8-minute practice, Reverend, we found a 23% increase in coherence in 4 weeks. People just going into their hearts. And this was like light bulb after light bulb. People need to know about this. They need to know there's this power inside of them that's been dampened down. We live in such a linear world. Also, Reverend, as you know well, before the last 100 years, let's say 150 years, we look back in time in the ancient cultures and spiritual traditions. The Egyptians didn't take the heart out of the mummy.
Right.
The Babylonians, the Greeks, all these cultures believed the heart was more than a physical organ.
Right.
Sacred heart of Jesus Christ,
Yes.
Anahata chakra.
Yes.
Heart Sutra in Buddhism, the word kalb, which translates to heart, is mentioned 132 times in the Quran. Lev,
Yes.
throughout the Torah and the Tabernacle. So it was just like, it's like, whoa. Spiritually, it's lining up with the science about how the heart has 40,000 neurons.
Yes.
And sends
More
more
than the
messages to
brain.
the brain. Well, it sends more messages. We see this miracle, Reverend, those of us that are parents, when you go in for an ultrasound where the heartbeat comes before the brain. And I remember looking at the monitor and being like, wow, that's pretty cool. But then you kind of just forget this miracle and you get on with your day. But what it's actually showing is the heart forms before the rational brain or the emotional brain. There is this intelligence, which the ancients always knew about. This heart is this gateway to the true self, to who we really are, to this incredible creativity, power, but power not in the Western sense, this power to be connected, to not give up your peace, to be so centered and so intuitive. And I want everyone to know that it's here. It's here. It's right here. And I mean, to answer your question too, Reverend, I've been working in wellness. You know, my first book was over 11 years ago. And believe me, I read a lot. I'm out there, you know, seeing what's going on. I didn't hear about this until a few years ago, this real like heart brain. And so I am lit up, as you can tell, with this mission.
You're lit up and you're going to light up a lot of people.
Reverend, we need to get this out there.
So you're speaking of, you can break this down a little bit more, heart coherence and heart intelligence.
That's it.
That's what you're working with.
Yes. And so what I love about this work too is sometimes, you know, there's just a lot of the discerning mind can shut things off, or people say, oh, energy, whatever. This is all measurable. There's so much research studies in the book. And what it shows is that there is this connection between the heart, the brain, and the nervous system. So we're not saying, oh, the brain isn't important or one's more important. We're saying you can actually learn to sync up. So it's that feeling that everyone wants to be in flow and to come from this deeper place of guidance. And so in our society, we're often taught that you have to take a million different, you know, nootropics, or just, you know, go to the fancy retreats in Bali or buy the big biohacking devices. And all of that can be really helpful.
Yes.
But I say, and there's this power place that's part of our natural biology and our natural technology. But it's like the most incredible thing inside of us, Reverend, that we haven't been taught how to use.
Right.
Even those of us that have been on the path for a long time, such as myself, when I started to learn about this, I mean, the other thing, Reverend, is in my life, take the science, but then it's like personal experience. I would say, if I had to quantify my own experience, my energy has gone up on a daily basis 60 to 70%. And that sounds far-fetched, but I'll tell you why.
Over what period of time?
I would say over the last 3 years.
Okay.
And you know why, Reverend? Because 2 minutes of irritation puts into motion 1,500 different biochemical processes that ultimately drain your energy.
Yes, they do.
So while I was eating well, while I was using non-toxic products and do all these things, just these little, the stressors are like, you know, what did that mean? That the replaying in my head, the traffic. It was just like by the end of the day, I was frazzled.
You make yourself sick.
Worry
yourself.
Inflamed, drain your immunity, drain your digestion.
Right.
So by the end of the day, it's like, oh, I feel centered. I feel calm. And that's the power of this work as well, is there's so much stress resilience, not just trying to minimize stress once you're in it, but this centeredness, which is so powerful for our health, for our vitality. What the research shows too, Reverend, is using some of these really simple heart practices, which we can talk about in a bit. Cortisol on average went down 23%, and DHEA went up 100%.
100%. Tell them what DHEA.
Okay, so DHEA is a precursor hormone that is necessary for vitality, for combating anxiety, depression. It's necessary for fertility.
Yes.
100% from not taking anything, but from activating this heart brain.
Right.
This is mind-boggling. And again, I want to shout from the rooftops, everybody needs to know this.
Yeah, you're covering a lot of material here. But what you're telling us here is that this is natural. It's so close to us that they're looking way out there for something, some panacea. But if they just stop and actually do these practices, their natural self will emerge.
That's it.
Their spiritual self. I love what you're saying, because people think that you have to be like some big guru to have a stress resistance or to be able to move through the world without being bothered. Your botherability factor goes down, and that you can actually move through this world with all of the stressors, with all of the stuff that's going on, and live in a space of joy and happiness and peace and compassion. And it's not far away. It's not like, I got to go through 1,000 lifetimes to get that. We're talking about here and now.
We're talking about here and now, and we're talking about this research study. Again, 30 people, moms, busy moms, executives. One person was ex-military, all sorts of people. Doing a simple practice for 7 minutes, 7 to 8 minutes, 4 times a week was a 29% increase in coherence. Exactly what we're talking about, that clarity. But let me show you one thing, Reverend, that's so simple. Right now, you and I are talking. Part of my attention is on my heart.
Yes.
So anyone listening to this, you can actually place your hand on your heart or just connect. Sometimes you don't connect right away because, we can be cut off from that feeling. But research published in the American Journal of Cardiology shows that just putting attention on your heart, a very preliminary practice, starts to rewire your nervous system.
Absolutely.
This is the power we have.
Recalibrates it.
Recalibrates.
Yeah.
It starts to awaken those 40,000 neurons. It starts to create a different neural signals.
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity isn't just up in the head. It's between the heart-brain connections.
Yeah.
So this power that we have, which we don't know we have, or it's been dampened down, or we've given away our power to think, oh, we need these attachments. I need this to work out. I need these people to like me. Blah 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 blah. What's amazing about this work, Reverend? I said the power, the force is moving through you non-specifically. Another power of this work is these states that we all want: the peace, the love, feeling that amazing, like expansiveness. It becomes non-specific states, not attached to this working out or this. And so that is what coherence.
That's what you're calling a non-specific state. Yeah. It's based on, not based on condition or circumstance.
Exactly.
It's just what it is.
It's what it is. Yeah. And so it starts to build what's called your coherence capacity. Your baseline starts to get a little bit higher, a little bit higher. So to your point, it's not, oh gosh, lifetimes away. It's everyday people, including myself, have tapped into this. Yeah. And let me tell you, the difference, I would say, my relationship with my husband is probably 90% better.
He's probably happy, huh?
He's so happy. It was just like all these little bickerings in daily life, right? Like, oh, you left the dirty socks on the floor again. Like just the friction when we get into the ego. It's so literal.
Yeah.
It's so small.
Yeah.
And what the heart does as well, this incredible, it gives you that different perspective, which heightens your emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So now you start to see, instead of the literalness, you start to see the essence.
Yeah.
You start to see what someone's really trying to say.
Yes.
You just become... It's like, one of the scientists I was talking to about this, and he's like, it's almost those, the Jason Bourne-like qualities where you start to be so attuned and so intuitive. It's like all these lights went on all of a sudden, and you can just perceive so much more.
Right.
So all the little pettiness, the chaos, the drama, which drains so much of our energy. Again, another study in the book showed that 5 minutes of recalling anger, Reverend, just remembering when you were angry.
Right.
Like, I didn't like how she said that to me. 5 minutes. There was a spike upward, like good stress also spikes IgA. It tanked, which is a biomarker for immunity, tanked it for 6 hours.
Wow.
6 hours. You said before, you get sick from this.
Yeah, you can worry yourself to death.
The psychological becomes the physiological. Right. Energy runs through everything.
Right.
So after all these years, Reverend, and all these books and all the things, I've always taught people about the green smoothies and proper hydration and all the stuff. That is all important.
You're speaking my language.
There's an embodiment section, by the way, in each heart chapter where I talk about helpful foods and things because everything works together. But I will say this, the heart, which is it's our physical center. It's our energetic center. The great ones have always said this gateway. What it feels like to me, this coherence, the syncing up in the bodily organs, it's also syncing up all these different layers of our being, and it's also syncing up the lifestyle. So this intuition is practical. It's standing in front of your fridge and coming from this deep place of guidance. What is the best thing for me to eat for breakfast?
Right.
What is the best thing to write in this email?
Right.
How can I best communicate my need in this meeting, right? It's just this different reality we can step into.
Absolutely. This is fantastic. Look in here and tell them again about... No, I think you said something very important about the recalling of anger.
Oh.
And because a lot of people
Let me show you this.
become addicted to the anger and to the stress because of the cortisol, because of the toxic chemicals.
Exactly.
They become actually addicted to those chemicals. And then they unconsciously find things to be upset about in other people, their mates, their friends, to have those chemicals run through them.
That's right. The chemicals are running through, and also the amygdalas, which are in both hemispheres, this part of our brain, which it likes things being familiar. So it'll attach these old wounds, these old things that happened into the present moment. So you create that reactivity.
Right.
So it also just reinforces it over and over again, and you start to feel that high from the chemicals.
Yeah.
But there's such a different way.
But you're tanking yourself.
You're taking yourself. And so this was the study I'll show it here from afar on page 35. And
I
what
love
this
it. I love
showed, we can put the graphics up there too. What this showed, Reverend, this was, they asked people to recall anger for 5 minutes and also to recall care, meaning a time which is a regenerative quality.
Yeah.
When you took care of your sick mom or your
Or somebody took care of
dog.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Just that feeling. And so you can see in both cases, the IgA first spiked.
Tell them what IgA is.
So IgA is this, it's important secretory antibody that increases immunity. So it
Right.
went up, but then it tanked for 6 hours. Now, this wasn't
That's recalling anger.
this wasn't being angry. Can
Right.
you imagine what it would
Just
be like
remembering
if you
it.
were in the anger? Just remembering.
But I notice, I mean, sometimes when I would counsel people and couples that get into arguments and things like that, often they would pull out things that a person had done 10 years ago.
Oh, gosh.
They'd get into the anger and they say, remember 10 years ago you said this? And they keep bringing everything into present moment. So they're not only recalling it, but then they're expressing it, and they're just basically destroying their immune system.
So
They're all tired.
Exactly. And so the heart stages, as we said, they goes from dark all the way up to clear.
Yeah.
So if you think about clear, like a prism, like a clear glass of water,
Yeah.
right? It's transparent. And what's the opposite of clear? Dense, heavy. Our heart,
glass
our
darkly.
energy, becomes
Like it says in the
dense
Bible.
with all these things that we hold on to, and it's actually stored in our body, and it's stored in these in our nervous system. It's stored in these nerves, and it can be so hard to even imagine, Reverend, as we all know, forgiving from the mind.
Yes.
In the devoted heart, though, there is a 6-part forgiveness practice based on this heart research of really deeply forgiving from this heart brain and this heart gateway. And we also have to forgive ourselves.
Of course.
So what happens is you start to pull out, you can work with like the more surface things, right? Like, oh, these little patterns, or I don't like this. And that can, be more resilient to the traffic or whatever it is. And then as the heart starts to awaken, you have such a higher capacity to hold space for yourself, to work on the bigger things,
Right.
the things you thought you'd never forgive, the
Right.
things you thought you'd never let go of. But
Right.
guess what? As your heart awakens into a new reality, your capacity to let go, to keep going into this transcendence, the heart power, as you know, Reverend, it doesn't stop. It's like more levels of love, more levels of just kindness. The other thing, Reverend, I want to say, and I'm getting goosebumps about this work is so beneficial for the individual, right? We change our health, we change our vitality, we change our relationships, we deepen. But you know what? This is for the collective too, because all the great ones have shown. And as we know, all fields, all energies intersect and connect. So what Swami Sri Yukteswar said in that same book, he talks about the ages. We can say right now we're in a dark age, right?
Yeah.
But what he said is more hearts awaken
Yeah.
and come into the higher stages. You usher in a new age called the Satya Yuga.
Yeah.
And it's going to take many of us, Reverend,
Yeah.
not just one or a few.
I think we're on the end of
Many.
Kali Yuga.
Well, it's like
But
this
we're
is the time.
coming into a whole new.
There's a different receptivity. I think many of us are waking up to this and saying, what do we want the world to be like? I know
Yes.
I want change, Reverend. I know you want change. Pretty much probably everyone listening to this, we want more peace. We want more unity, and we contribute.
Right.
Because sometimes you see on the news, it's like, oh gosh, like this is happening or blah, blah, blah. I can't do anything about it. But you do. We do, Reverend. Our energy changes. This is what, am I talking too fast, Reverend? This is so exciting.
You have such tremendous enthusiasm. And Ari and I are laughing because it's so synchronous with what I was teaching earlier.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, and because we're holographic expressions of the infinite. That means we're all connected, holographic. We're connected. So as you're saying, when you change or come into that new world,
Yes.
world of love and peace, you're affecting millions of people.
That's it.
You'll never even meet these people, but you're affecting them anyway because we're all connected.
Well, it's true because as we embody these, we have to embody, as Gandhi says, be
Yeah.
the change you want to be in the world.
Right.
And then this Reverend also proves it. This is the Heartfield. This is on page 45. This was also research from Heart Math, which is, the delusion we think, which is this is me,
Right.
and this is you, and
Right,
we
right.
stop at the skin. Energies, is broadcast out. The
Right.
heart field is the highest electromagnetic
Yes.
frequency. So it's intersecting 8 to 10 feet. And guess what, Reverend? What the research shows is your heart field is affected by your emotional state. So you can put on that fake happy face.
Right, right.
But if you're really feeling like, irritated or
Sure.
frustrated, it's felt.
Right.
And as you do these practices here in the hidden power of the 5 hearts, what happens is you strengthen your field. It becomes more harmonious. So number 1, you're less affected by other people's energy. Number 2, you can put what you want into the field, all this love and kindness. And
Yes.
number 3, and this is huge for people out there because people have desires. They want to meet that love interest. They want a partner to start a family with. They want a new job, whatever it is. You literally become more magnetic.
Yes.
People want to come in. Hey, what are you working on?
Yes.
What are you up to? I just want to talk to you.
Right, right.
Because this coherent field draws in.
Yeah.
So like we said, more synchronicities instead of this arduous, step by step. The mind tells you it's going to take this long. It's so boring just hearing about it, right?
Right.
The heart is nonlinear. The heart, dynamic, quantum leaps.
Yes. You
Boom.
become a paramagnetic field because you're plugged into the source.
That's it.
So then your field is the actual frequency of what you desire.
yeah.
So then what you desire, because the word desire comes from to sire. So you're actually radiating that seed energy of the thing itself. So it shows up in a very powerful way.
Wait, Reverend, I think I told you this story, but I want to tell it again for the short story for anyone new to this, where, again, we flow in and out of the heart stages. So it's not like, oh, I never get to the clear heart. We experience that, most all of us, when you're washing the dishes and you're sort of staring off into space, or you look into a loved one's eyes.
Yes.
So I remember a couple of years ago when I was living in New York, this is before I had my kids, and I was in one of those states, clear heart moment, and I stepped out of my apartment in the West Village, and I remember feeling the sun on my shoulders, and I just felt so clear and so present. And so I walked across to Union Square Park, and to get to this meeting, I worked with this agency. I would always go diagonally across the park, but in that clarity, what happens, Reverend, as you know, is there's this subtlety, these messages, just these promptings, which you cannot hear if you're in that very heady, chaotic place. So a couple weeks before that, I had sent my 3rd book to Deepak Chopra. And after many emails, he gave me a great endorsement. So I was so happy I broke through. But I had this feeling that I was supposed to do more with him.
Yeah.
But I just held it in there.
Right.
So fast forward to this moment, and I'm supposed to go this way. Something inside, go this way, which doesn't make sense to walk around the perimeter of the park because it would take twice as long.
Right.
I did it, Reverend, and guess what? Who did I run into on the street? Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
And again, in this clear heart, just full expression, not in the head, not thinking, oh gosh, who am I to go up to him? Or like even trying to talk to him, but coming from this meek place, but just in the wholeness of the heart. And I said, Deepak, it's Kimberly, you just reviewed my book. And he was like, oh, great. Gave me his cell phone. We met at a coffee shop a few weeks later. In 2 hours, Reverend, we decided to write a book together called Radical Beauty that went on to become a New York Times bestseller.
Right.
None of this could ever be conceived
It was
of
nonlinear.
from the mind.
It was not rational.
Out of time and space.
Transrational.
That's it.
Yeah.
This is the power I believe that we all can tap into as we awaken the heart. Simple practices, going in our HeartAlign study where you go into the heart, you do what's called heart-focused breathing. You do a couple steps. It starts to shift and change your energy in a very profound way. And I've seen things with my clients. I started to bring this into some of my my client work. And I was seeing people that had been struggling with, for instance, food cravings for years, start to blast through patterns. Again, because we're going past just the amygdala, just the brain, and you're going to this other brain activating.
The second brain.
Seeing people
maybe the first brain.
Exactly.
It's the first brain.
People so angry suddenly become calmer. Moms that felt like they didn't have a purpose, they're overwhelmed, start to feel this centeredness come back. Incredible, Reverend.
This is beautiful. The hidden power of the 5 hearts. What came to mind, remember, did you ever see that movie, The 5 Heartbeats?
No. Is it a good one?
It's pretty good, yes. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to check it out.
Now, we call it the second brain, the heart, but it's actually the first brain because it developed,
right.
it developed,
That's
it
right.
developed before the physical brain.
Yes.
But scientifically, we call it the second brain because it has all these neurons.
Well, scientifically, people don't even, the masses don't even know it's a brain. They sort of think the heart is just this muscle pumping blood.
Right.
And we've given so much emphasis on the brain. Again, it's not that the brain isn't important, but what I call it in the book is sort of this wild horse. This untamed ego can feed us thousands of thoughts that are often circular, that are often negative, that are often telling us we're not good enough, or we need to compete, we need to compare. This way of fragmenting
Compete and compare
reality into like me versus you, right versus wrong. That's all the separation we see in the world today. So the heart is this expansive, unifying, just this different type of intelligence, Reverend, that starts to see how we're all in this. And instead of competing, it's like we're all brothers and sisters. So there's, in the devoted heart, there's a section called Never Miss an Opportunity to Serve.
Yes.
And what that really means.
I love that.
What it means, Reverend, sometimes we think, oh, I'll try to save a weekend in the summer where I can go build houses and the Appalachian Trail or whatever. That's great too, right? Like the really literal service.
Right.
But our power, our presence is right here, right in our hearts, Reverend. So never miss an opportunity to serve means right here. From my heart, what's the kind thing to do? What's the loving thing to say?
Yes.
I notice my colleague is struggling in that Zoom. What's something I could say that will lighten them? How can I look in the eyes at this, checkout clerk at Target and really connect?
Yes.
How can I, be of service? I'm good because I'm feeling so full and whole in my heart. It just becomes this natural way of heart-based living.
Yes.
Where we're connected and suddenly we're actually content and fulfilled. Remember that propelled heart where so much of society is, where I was? Never enough. Okay, I have, I'm just using these numbers, 100,000 followers on TikTok. I need 1 million.
Right.
I'm making X amount, but I won't stop until I make this.
Right.
There's never enough.
Right.
There's never peace.
There's never enough of that which doesn't satisfy.
Nothing. But when we come into this wholeness, Reverend, it's a reality. It's a different reality, and it's priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're giving so much. So basically, two things. One, because I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm paying attention to my heart.
Yes.
I'm there. So you're paying attention to the heart. You ask, how can I serve? Which then takes you out of victimhood. And so now the flow of the presence, you're making yourself available for the flow of the presence to come through you, and you're radiating energy rather than merely attracting things. You're actually radiating beauty. You're radiating love. You're radiating compassion. Now you're in a flow. You're plugged in. So now you've developed this paramagnetic field that's expanding this way. So even before you ask, miracles can drop in your life. You didn't ask to meet Deepak on that day. Even before you ask, things are being worked out in the realm of the unseen, because in the realm of the unseen and the unknown, there's infinite ways for things to work out. In your linear mind, there's only a few.
Yeah.
And so now you're tapped in, and then all of this can begin to flow, and then the minor and major miracles can begin to happen. And what's beautiful about this, if we can get together more and more people, we create a gigantic field.
Yes.
That absolutely can transform the world.
Yes.
You see? Yeah. So I'm hearing all of this. I'm feeling this from you. And
I would love to do a practice together, Reverend. That's we'll do like a 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm going to want you to,
because I want it to emanate out, and we can all do it. But like you were saying, Reverend, the victim is this survive.
Yeah.
And to this,
and they did it to me.
Thrive. Yeah, exactly. This thriving, which is, again, it seems so complicated from the head. Like, oh, there's so many things to do, there's so many things to take. I see so many things on Instagram. How am I supposed to do all this, right?
Right.
Where there's this simplicity and this intuitive knowing of the heart it just cuts right through.
Right.
Cuts right through.
Right. You don't have to, you can't add anything to yourself.
That's it.
What you're doing is you're eliminating the static that's on the line, so that the eternal broadcast that's always happening, you're able to catch it and live it and articulate it and express it, but you're not adding anything. You're actually taking away that which doesn't serve you anymore.
And that's, again, getting to the clear heart. We're not trying to be this different version. We're taking the layers off the heart so it becomes more transparent. Like a ninja.
Yeah. I remember years ago, I had my first awakening as an adult. And it was very, very dramatic and everything. I won't go into it. But there was a period of time where I had these heart pains. And to the point where I couldn't breathe. If I took a deep breath in, excruciating pain. sometimes the ambulance, they used to have to come to my house.
Mm.
And they checked me. There was nothing wrong. They couldn't find anything physiologically wrong. So I went to an energy balancer, and he did something to my spine, and it opened all of this up and it freed up all this energy. And he said I had bad interior posture from years ago, of the lack of self-worth to a degree.
Wow.
And so I had all this energy rising up through the Kundalini, but it was getting stuck. And then it opened, and it was free. And every now and then, haven't had this recently, but every now and then, whenever more energy wanted to come through, I could feel a little pain in my heart, like it's time to open up more. It's time to open up more.
It's
now,
like a snakeskin shedding into
like,
another layer.
Yeah. And in those days, I was really a weirdo when all of that was happening, because a lot of the things that we have now, didn't exist back then. We didn't have transpersonal psychology. We didn't have so many things that have corroborated the science.
Yes.
To what we're teaching wasn't readily available.
Right.
So I was just navigating through myself, but I did bump into Paramahansa Yogananda and others like that to assist me in the way. So you're bringing so much enthusiasm and this beautiful book to the perennial teaching. It's another iteration of the perennial teachings. And you're carrying the frequency of it. When I saw you in the room out there and I walked out and said, whoa, it's a big light. I said, who turned on the lights? It was so beautiful.
Well, Reverend, I really want to do this practice with you, because I feel like this resonance of our heart fields and teaching how really simple this can be. But first, a little science. Page 29. This is what, and we can throw the graphics up there. This is the pattern of someone who's in anger, their HRV, which is chaotic and disordered. You know what anger feels like, like up and down. When we're in appreciation.
That's the heart rhythm right there.
These are not just the HRV numbers, but actually the rhythms. This is appreciation, right, Reverend? So this is the heart being the main biological oscillator. This is what peace starts to feel like, in that expansion, because in the heart sets the rhythms, which then changes the nervous system. It changes the thoughts. It changes all the hormonal balance. So that's one of the things that we're going to do in this HeartAlign meditation. This is the one that we studied. Formally with Heart Math.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of Yogananda in here. We'll just do a 1 minute just to show how simple.
Do it. Let's do it.
This really is. Okay, so we're going to close our eyes. And straight away, after we shift around, or maybe stretch out some tension, just try to relax the body as much as possible. We're going to shift our attention right to our hearts. You can place your hand on your heart if that helps you shift in. It's not entirely necessary. Otherwise, just shift your energy and your focus, your awareness right to the center of your chest, your physical heart and your energetic heart. And straight away, we're going to take some deep breaths, imagining that we're breathing in and out of the heart. We're going to start with 5 in, 5 out, which is known as coherence breathing. I'll do the counts. So we're going to inhale into the heart for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale out of your heart for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, just like that, inhale into your heart for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale out of your heart for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to drop the counting, but just continue to breathe in and out of your heart, nice and slowly. And then keeping your awareness there, I'd like you to recall someone or something that makes you feel appreciation, which is a mix of gratitude, thankfulness, awe, approval. Could be a loved one, could be a pet, or a beautiful sunset you saw on a trip. But once you have that visual that helps you tap into the feeling, drop the visual and just focus on this incredibly expansive feeling in your heart for just a few moments. It can feel a little tingly or warm. Just feel appreciation. And if it dropped, just bring it right back. Recall your person or thing. Feel, once again, the expansion of appreciation right in your heart. Last few moments. And now we can send appreciation as well as love to others, including to you, Reverend, out into the world, other people in the room with you, loved ones, places in the world that need extra love and care. We can actually broadcast from the heart. Love, care. And we'll take another deep breath in and out through our hearts. We'll take a moment to thank our amazing hearts for its incredible wisdom, for anything else that arises spontaneously. When you're ready, you can float your eyes open.
Absolutely. Hope you guys practice that. Heart coherence, heart intelligence. Your field has been magnified. So this speaks to what you say in your book, that you can't go to the same place where the problem is for the solution. You have to actually go somewhere else.
And we're going to this heart, we're going to this energy center, Reverend, and you were my object of appreciation. I'm so grateful for you, Reverend. And wow, it takes me a minute sometimes to come back. But what's amazing, we on my website as well, mysolluna.com/5heartsbook, we have tracks of this meditation paired with Coherence music, which helps. And we stayed in that appreciation state for 2 minutes. And that was found in the research. Simple as that.
Right.
4 to 5 times a week to increase coherence, 29%.
Yes.
And so what happens again is your coherence capacity builds. So it's like a muscle.
Yes.
It gets easier to drop in and to stay. At first you're like thinking and you're like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be appreciative or whatever it is, these natural unfoldings. But then we go in there and you realize, I recommend people try to do the meditation in the morning.
Yes.
But in the book, there are tools, including the HeartAlign Harmonize with Life, HeartAlign Steady in Life to, anchor yourself through big emotions that you can do in 3 to 10 seconds, Reverend. Yes. The research is so powerful. The heart is here, and we can just start to live from a more heart-centric place.
Yes.
To change the day-to-day minutia moments. Every moment can be a more heart-led moment.
Absolutely. The other thing I like about the teachings and the practice that you're giving is that the body, the subtle bodies, the physical body, becomes stronger enough to carry more of the energy. It's like if you try to put too much wattage through a wire, it'll sputter.
Yes.
But our bodies are getting stronger to carry more of the cosmic energy, which is infinite. So then with that capacity increasing, you're able to walk through the world and not be bothered by little things.
That's right.
You're aware of them.
That's right.
You may not like them, but it's not going to knock you off center. And you're not going to be triggered as easily because you're living in a different space.
That's it.
And I want to remind people that what you're saying here is not far off. It's right here. Just a little bit of practice every day. Yeah.
I would say, as you said, Reverend, that this is actually the first brain. I think the way that we've been taught to be in society largely is actually maladaptive coping.
Right.
It's not natural to be in stress all the time. It's not natural to be on all the time. So this pathway to the heart, unlocking more of who we really are, this expansion, this natural kindness, this peace.
Natural
where
kindness.
we could never harm someone else.
Yes.
In words,
Even if
thoughts,
your government told you
deeds.
to.
Exactly. But just in just all the ways, again, just imagine on a global scale, on an individual, collective scale, the more of us that awaken into this, Reverend, this is a completely different world that would be forged forward. And I would say the world that we want, the world that's possible, it sounds idealistic, and it is in a sense, but it's possible.
Well, the
one
ideal,
heart at a time.
The ideal is real. In that world, we're living in that world right now, you and I, right now. We're living in it right this second. And then we're carrying it into the world. I call it the world of appearances. And so that which appears can disappear. So we're living in that world now, and as more and more of us live in the real world, coming out of the matrix, so to speak, we're affecting the rest of the world, because that world is appearing based on the condensation of thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, etc. But it's temporary. This is the real world. This is eternality trying to break into time through us. This is what you're bringing people into.
There's this story in the book, Reverend, where a reporter was asking Mother Teresa in Stockholm between Rome and India, Mother, what has changed after all this time? You're 70 now. One day you'll be gone and the world will be the same. And she looked at him and she said, I'm paraphrasing here a bit, but she said, I never wanted to change the world. All I wanted to be was a drop where God's love could be reflected. Does that seem like a small thing to you?
That's what she said.
That's what she said. It wasn't, trying to go against everything and create this.
Right.
She was embodying this energy of this different reality that you're speaking of. And she was bringing that reality into the world. And look at how the sustainability and the power and the impact of her work versus the pushy way or the ways in which things can also go about from the egoic mind.
I remember her raising money, and she went to some major corporation. They had promised so much money, and they gave her the check, and she was sitting there, just sitting, and they said, why are you staying? She said, we need more. The guy went back into the boardroom and came out and brought her more money. She just sat there. She said, no, we need more money.
Beautiful.
Get more people to feed.
Gentle. And the power of love, too. I think as the heart awakens and there's this humility that comes, the ego is like me. Like I said, the personalization. I have the power. I'm so smart. I'm so special. This. But the heart starts to see the truth, which is that, and one of the central teachings of Yogananda and Sri Yukteswar is all hearts are equal. Our souls are on this journey back home, and we have this potential, this technology inside of us, whatever you want to call it, this gateway of the heart that we can all tap into. We can all tap into. And it's making that choice, making the consistent steps, learning about these teachings in the first place. Like I said, I'm so honored and excited and lit up, Reverend, to get this book out into the world, which feels like way more than just a book, by the way.
I can feel it's activated because you're
mission.
Activated.
Yes, the heart is here. It needs to come forward. Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote this book in the 1800s.
Yes.
And Yogananda, these teachings are from the Vedas, ancient. Yep. And we think, this stuff has gotten buried. It's gotten pushed down.
Well, it's also gotten, it's like the blessing and the curse of technology is that people are trying to teach this stuff without embodiment. They're parroting other people and putting all these things out there. So the blessing is that people are getting seeds being planted. Yes. The curse is that people are teaching something they haven't embodied yet, which is okay, because if a serious student is going to bump into these individuals and get a little bit and then realize, there's something deeper here, there's something more, and they'll keep on going. Yeah. So I call it all a blessing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true, and I think that this work holds up so much over time. These teachings, the Vedas from thousands of years ago, truth is timeless, right?
Right.
And I will say this, I love Eckhart Tolle, I love, some of the teachers, but they would say things, Reverend, which I wanted to get and I didn't know how to do it. Go beyond thinking. I'm like, well, after I'm done meditating, and even sometimes while I'm meditating, there's a lot of thinking here. So what I really love about this heart coherence work and what we experienced a tad of in this HeartAlign meditation, we're going to a different place than where the challenge is, which is the overthinking mind. We're activating this power center. There's real evidence-based tools and simple but powerful technology to not, and I love the Tao Te Ching, right? And I quote the Tao here too, this allness and the emptiness, this dropping the ideas. But in everyday life, we feel a lot of insecurities. We feel down in our confidence if people don't like our post, or or we don't feel like we're having a good hair day or whatever it is. We gain 5 pounds, whatever it is. So it's like this up and down in our our identity goes up and down. It's like being tossed around like a ping pong ball. This steadiness that starts to come, this power. It just, like I said, so priceless, Reverend, and it gives us this experience of real joy.
Yeah. Well,
real joy.
You're allowing your body to become an ally as well. Because as you recalibrate your nervous system, a lot of people are trying to affirm this, affirm that, but the body's working against them because the body has calibrated itself around the fear and the worry of previously held thoughts.
Yes.
So when you start to do the heart coherence, your body recalibrates and the body becomes an ally to what you really want.
Yes.
It's not working against you, it's working with you. You're in alignment with it.
There's so much fear energy inherent in our world today, Reverend, and it runs through all the different channels. Yeah. So for instance, my 8-year-old last night, 3 a.m, wakes me up. Oh, I just had the most horrible nightmare in the middle of the night. And so you know what we did, Reverend? I lay him down. He put his hands on his heart. And I said, just breathe here. So simple. Just breathe here into your heart. And he did it for a few moments. And a few moments later, he was asleep.
He has a good mom.
But on all levels,
it's good karma though when you're blessed with a good mom,
right?
Good mom, good dad, yeah.
But this fear that we all have in different ways about the future, or fear about something not working out, and all the many fears, right? We want to go outside of ourselves to feel okay. The mind likes to know. Well, is this going to work out? Am I still going to have this job in 2 weeks? Is this person going to ask me on a second date? All the stuff, right?
Right.
But the truth is, we don't control out there. Right. And it's futile to try to grasp on all those attachments again. But the heart, Reverend, and this has been a huge thing for me as someone who had a lot of anxiety, as someone who wanted to know, needed to know. There's just this peace that you really can create, even in not knowing, from the heart coherence. This is where real security...
It's not based on conditions.
No.
It's you.
It's this fearlessness.
Yeah, it's you.
And you know what happens in fearlessness, Reverend? It's just like this conversation, which I feel is even more lit up than our last one. When you're fearless, Reverend, you can speak your full expression, your truth, and you believe, and your conscience is clear, and you're not speaking from a fearful place, and it's all aligned. There's, you can come into your full purpose and your creativity.
Absolutely.
In all our unique ways.
Absolutely. Anything else? No, I'm just,
Oh my gosh,
we're coming close to our end of this particular conversation. But what do you think that if you were to leave here and your mind would say, oh, I should have said that? What do you think that is?
Well, I think we certainly covered a lot, Reverend.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest message, which we'll reiterate again, is that there really is a hidden power inside of all of us. It's scientific, it's energetic, it's spiritual, and it's just waiting there for us to be awakened. Yeah. And even, I'll say this, even if you're going through a really challenging time right now, as we all do at times, even if you feel really in a dark place or confused or lost, that heart connection is always there to be reawakened step by step, little baby steps. It's like turning on more lights.
Right.
And I want everyone to have these tools. I want everyone to know about this. And I think this is how we're really going to change the world, Reverend.
Yes. We're going to serve the emerging paradigm. So this is it. I won't touch that one because I want you to see it. But listen, Kimberly Snyder, The Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts. Get your copy. Expand your thoughts, empower your thoughts, balance your emotions, and unlock vibrant health and abundance. Now, tell them how they can contact you.
So The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts is available anywhere books are sold, online, Barnes & Noble. You can also check out more information about the meditation tracks and me at mysolluna.com/5heartsbook.
That's Solluna. Sun and moon.
That's
Solluna.
it, the wholeness.
The wholeness, the whole vibe. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate
Reverend. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. We're here with Kimberly Snyder, and I know you enjoyed what you heard, and I know you felt what comes under the tongue, which can't be spoken, but you feel the vibrational nuance of what she is bringing today. Very powerful. As I say goodbye to you, put your attention on your heart right now and be free. Peace and blessings. Blessings to you, and it's time for us to meditate. Now, obviously, you can meditate as you wake up in the morning. You can stop and pay attention to your breath, your heart in the afternoon, or throughout the... I oftentimes have people to every hour on the hour, just kind of stop, take a breath, remember something that brings them joy, place their attention on their heart, and keep on stepping. So in kind of a reflection and enthusiasm about my conversation with Kimberly Snyder, we're going to do a little meditation for these few moments, and we're going to add some factors to it. So stop in this moment. Have your posture wonderful, not rigid, just back straight as a signal that you're staying awake. I want you to intend to be happy. Intend to be a fountain of joy. Intend to feel the essence of love. Just intend it. Don't ask how to do it. Now think about a moment in your life in which you felt totally supported, appreciated, and loved. Supported, appreciated, loved. What does that feel like? With that feeling, every breath that you take, you're breathing into the heart and exhaling through the heart. Appreciation, support, and love is your feeling. And you're rich enough to pay attention. Appreciation, support, love. Notice it's not against the law to feel this, even before anything manifests. It is the right use of the law. You have to feel it first. Consciousness precedes form. You have the consciousness first, form will follow. Deep appreciation, deep support. All of your needs are met. You are supported. Deep love. Breathing appreciation and support and love, the feeling of it, into the heart. As you breathe out, you're feeling appreciation, divine support, infinite love. light smile on your face, to activate tonic chemicals coursing through the body temple. As you're breathing in the feeling of appreciation, support, divine love into the heart, out through the heart. With a deep sense of appreciation, divine support, and infinite love, we give something now. We give thanks for our existence. We give thanks that we are alive, awake, and aware, and that our body and our nervous system has now recalibrated to the feeling tone of appreciation, support, and love. As you open your eyes, give yourself permission to move into the world, but to be of the feeling of being so appreciated, so supported, and so loved. Feel it, because it's true. Have a beautiful day. Peace and blessings. I truly hope that you are enjoying Take Back Your Mind podcast. The Take Back Your Mind podcast is sponsored primarily by the Agape International Spiritual Center. In other words, everything that you see in terms of the staff that puts this together, the editing, the equipment, all of this is sponsored by our Agape International Spiritual Center. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I'm inviting you to support the sponsor. Support Agape. Simply go to agapelive.com and make a donation. And say in the donation that you are supporting the podcast. It allows us to keep broadcasting. It allows us to keep putting these magnificent moments together with these wonderful people that I get to interview. We keep having the possibility of updating the equipment that's necessary and providing the wonderful content that many of you are writing in and saying, I really love the podcast. Support the podcast. Support the sponsor. Agape International Spiritual Center. agapelive.com. You can also text to donate. You can text the word give to 424-321-6243 and put podcast so that we know that you're really supporting this wonderful podcast. Our secondary sponsor is Adaptozen, Adaptozen. This is my superfood greens. It's nutritionally dense because I teach spirit, mind, and body. We want our body temples to be healthy. So one of the products is my superfood greens. You can go to nutrarise.com. Those three little lines you see, you hit those three little lines and you'll see Adaptozen. There's two products, my superfood greens and a product called Elevate, which are organic mushrooms for your health. You can put both in your smoothies so that you have main ingredients for the health of your body temple. These are our sponsors. Primary sponsor, Agape International Spiritual Center. Secondary sponsor, Adaptozen. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be wise. Circulate and share. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast at michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.